Hey folks, this is Jared here, and I'm going to share something. I read an article about Grant Morrison and how he's saying he does not like Superman being a right-wing authoritarian. And before we get started, I do like Grant Morrison as a writer. Now, I have not read every single thing he wrote, but I do have I've quite a few things that he wrote. I don't have yeah, I think he wrote Batman, Arkham Asylum. Hadn't read that one. I'd like to pick it up one day. Most famously, he's known for one of the most famous books, and probably this is one of the most famous Superman stories of all time. One of them is All Star Superman. Now, some people will say that's the greatest Superman comic of all time. It's good, but it's definitely not the greatest. By the way, if you don't know, I am a huge Superman fan. If you can see the Superman um, canvas in the background. Also, the next three are Batman comics. Uh, Batman R.I.P. One YouTuber said you gotta read this book slowly, and yeah, you do because you can be very confused. It's very confusing. It can get very confusing. And I want to say one positive thing about Grant Morrison. One thing I do like, I would say this: I prefer Grant Morrison. I prefer when Grant Morrison writes Batman because I think he does a better job writing Batman than Superman. Not saying also Superman is bad. I think it's overrated. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, like some people are making out to be. Next up, we have Batman Gothic. I would say this is probably my favorite Grant Morrison comic I read so far because it's basically a horror comic. It's basically a Batman horror comic, which is basically cool. Before I bought, um, before I started buying more horror, the last horror comic I bought was a book called Dead Day, which is a zombie horror. Um, and I also bought a alien comic and a werewolf comic. That was probably like the closest thing to a horror comic that I had. In a lot of the Batman comics I read by Grant Morrison do have like a horror movie, like horror vibe to it. And next up we have Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin Must Die, which is actually, my opinion, the best Grant Morrison Batman comic. Not my favorite, but I thought it'd be Batman Gothic. Um, so yeah, that's all the three Grant Morrison uh, books that I have. The books that are written by him. I don't have that many. I think he wrote like an indie. I think he wrote like an indie comic one time about one of the main characters are animals. I can't remember the name of the book. I'll have to pick that one up. Now, the video at hand. Now I would say the topic at hand. Grant Morrison is right. Okay, you don't need Superman. Superman does not need to be a right wing authoritarian, and also he doesn't need to be a left wing authoritarian either. Just let Superman be Superman. Just let Superman be Superman. Okay. Okay, and the reason why they're trying to make Superman like a tyrant, a dictator, or just trying to make him become a villain, is to appeal to the I hate lighthearted characters. Lighthearted characters are stupid. They need to be dark and edgy. Superman's not badass enough. I'm like, that's not Superman, okay? Superman is not dark and edgy. Even in the Man of Steel movie, Superman was not dark and edgy in that movie. Even though that has a darker and edgier tone movie, Superman was not dark and edgy in that movie. He was still that beacon of hope. Now, he wasn't a Boy Scout in the movie, but he was still that beacon of hope. And that's Superman. Superman is supposed to represent hope. He's not supposed to be this dark, edgy character. And they're trying to pander to the people who hate light-hearted characters. Superman is a light-hearted character. Okay? They're trying to appeal to the people who think Superman is lame and Superman needs to be edgy. No, Superman does not need to be edgy. Not every character needs to be edgy. Okay? It may work for Batman, but not Superman. Okay? Now, you could have an edgy storyline centered around Superman and still make him the Boy Scout character who's a beacon of hope, okay? And the reason why DC wants to make him a authoritarian character as well is this is probably the main reason why. It's because they want everybody to know how much they hate conservatives. Okay, and Marvel's doing the same thing as well because they made the Red Skull Jordan Peterson. Okay, they want everybody to know how much they hate conservatives, and they want to teach their conservative readers a lesson. Yeah, we're gonna teach you a lesson, you conservatives. I'm like, a lesson on what exactly? That being conservative is bad? Like, and I respect Grant Morrison having some principles, okay? Instead of trying to make Superman a right-wing authoritarian character because you hate conservatives, try, I don't know, writing a good story for once. Because nobody cares how much you hate conservatives, okay? If you want to appeal to the anti-conservative crowd, then the comic business is not for you, okay? A lot of these far leftist people don't read comics, okay? They don't. And DC and Marvel don't understand that. The reason why I mentioned Marvel is because they're doing the exact same thing. And that's the reason. This is the reason why I am buying. I'm buying more indie comics recently because indie comics, they're not forced down to. They're not buying. It's indie comics. You can do whatever you want. Okay, when I say indie comics, I'm not talking about IDW and stuff like that. I'm talking about actual indie comics. Okay, because the last comic book I bought is an indie comic by Aftershock Comics. That is an indie publishing company. It's just Grant Morrison's right. Superman does not need to be a right-wing authoritarian. He does not need to be a left-wing authoritarian. Okay, if they made Superman a super left-wing authoritarian, I'd be upset as well too because you're trying to make a character that's not really political, and trying to make them political. As if, well, there's Superman comics in the past that were political. Yes, it was back in the late 30s or 40s. I'll say during the late 30s or 40s. I can't remember what exact decade. It tackled prison cruelty. But there's a difference. That comic was not preachy. It was still a fun, entertaining read. Okay? And people said, this is the problem with comics today. They're way too political. And yes, there have been comics in the past that tackled social and political issues. That had social and political commentary. The Dark Knight Rises has political commentary in it. But it's still a well written, and it's still a real, like, besides the political commentary in the book, it's still a well written book. Okay, it's still told a good story behind it. Even though I do think it's one of the most overrated comics of time, I still believe it's a really good. I still believe it's a great comic book. I just don't think it's the greatest of all time, as some people believe. By the way, it's not even my favorite Batman comic. My favorite Batman comic is The Long Halloween because I like the fact it's a murder mystery. murder mystery. Not a DC comic, but this is a Marvel that is heavily have political and social commentary in it. Man kill. No, I think it's God Forgive. Man kills, God forgives. I think that's the name of the title. That tackles the issue of prejudice. Okay, but it does it very well. It's not preachy. It still tells a very interesting and well told story, and the book is very well written. It's definitely my favorite X-Men comic of all time. Dark Phoenix is good, but I'll have to give that one another shot. Is that people need to realize that that politics. There's what am I gonna say this? There's nothing wrong with a comic book being political. It's when it gets preachy, and that's the problem with a lot of DC and Marvel comics nowadays. They're trying to be as preachy as possible. Trying to be as preachy as possible. Okay, that's the main problem. They're trying to insert real life politics into comics instead of trying to write good, entertaining stories. People read comics to be entertained. People don't read comics to be lectured. And I totally agree with Grant Morrison on this one. He does not need to be a left-wing authoritarian. Okay, he does not need, and also he does not need to be a left-wing authoritarian. Superman needs to be Superman. Okay, I want to see Superman flying around, punching aliens and robots, and saving people from fallen buildings. He does not need to be this dark, edgy dictator villain. Okay? And that's all I got to say. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to rate and subscribe. And see you guys later. Bye.